Welcome to the class 11 students. I will be taking your biology classes, mostly the zoology part. And in your syllabus, there are some chapters that does not belong to strictly either zoology or botany. They are general to both. That means they fall under the general biology topic and are common to both botany or zoology. So we will be starting one such chapter today, and you have quite a brief idea about this chapter. The name of the chapter is Cell Structure and Function. Okay, so you have read about cell and its components and the function of those components in class 9, and you will read in details about those components and those and their structures and functions about more in details this year. And as we move on with our syllabus, you will see that the syllabus of class 9 and 11 are very similar, and you will read the topics that you have read in class 9. In class 11 you will read those topics in details and some more topics also. So let's start with our topic today, which is cell. Now, what is a cell? A cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. Okay, it is the smallest unit of life. That means every organism is ultimately formed of cells, many cells, thousands or lakhs or crores or uncountable cells. Okay, and these cells may be of any shape or size. In this picture you can see different shapes of cells. The red blood cells are circular, and the columnar epithelial cells are cuboidal. The ovum cells are very much circular in shape. The smooth muscle cells are spindle shaped. The sperm cell is elongated with a head which tapers at one end, and the nerve cell is star shaped, and then an elongated strand comes out of it. So these are the different shapes of cells that can be seen, and there are many more different types of cells with different shapes. The measuring unit of cell may be micron. These things you know micron, and also angstrom, and you are also familiar with angstrom. Okay, so these are the measuring units of cells, and the smallest cell is a bacteria known as mycoplasma, and the largest cell is the cell of ostrich. So they are very much highly apart from each other, highly different from each other in case of size. Okay, and cells, an organism can also be made up of one cell or many cells. That means they can be either unicellular or multicellular. Unicellular means when an organism is made up of one cell only, for example amoeba, paramecium. And multicellular means when an organism is made up of many cells. Okay, that can be human being or any other developed animal. Okay, or plant also. Okay, so moving on to the history of discovery of cell. Okay, now within this history there are many landmarks. Okay, landmarks like starting from 384 BC till the latest one is 1932. There have been about 17 landmarks where important discoveries have been made, but we are not going to read all those 17 ones. We are only going to read the most important ones, which are the legendary discoveries in the field of cell. Okay, so the first one is by Robert Hooke. You also have heard the name of Robert Hooke previously in class 9. So what did Robert Hooke do? Robert Hooke constructed a well-developed compound microscope and observed a section of cork and under that microscope. So he made a microscope on his own, which was obviously not as developed as today's microscopes, but he made a device and viewed the section of cork under that microscope, okay, and he named it cell, okay. So this is one important discovery in the history of discovery of cell. Next one comes Anton van Leeuwenhoek. Anton van Leeuwenhoek. What did he do? He first observed bacteria, protozoa, sperm, blood cells, etc. with the help of a simple microscope prepared by him. Now, previously Robert Hooke made a compound microscope on his own and for the first time viewed a piece of cell. Next, Anton van Leeuwenhoek made a simple microscope, constructed a simple microscope on his own and observed bacteria, protozoa, sperm, blood cells, etc. Okay, this is another important discovery. Moving on to the latest one, and in between there had been other numerous discoveries, but we are not going to go into those because those are not important, and questions also don't come from those topics. So we will go to the last one, that is Knoll and Ruska. Now what did Knoll and Ruska do? They manufactured the electron microscope and observed plant and animal cells from the tissue section. So what is electron microscope? He made the compound microscope, he made the simple microscope, and they made the electron microscope. Now there are two types of microscopes. Before I tell you what Knoll and Ruska did, I have to tell you in details what are the different types of microscopes. There are two types of microscope. One is light microscope and the other one is electron microscope, which was prepared by Knoll and Ruska. Okay, now this electron microscope was discovered much later in 1932. Before that, there were two types of light microscope. One is simple, another is compound. Okay, now simple microscope, as the name suggests, that it is a very simple one. It is also known as a dissecting microscope. We can dissect very small plant parts by keeping those parts which are not properly visible with our naked eyes. So we can keep those plant parts under that microscope and we can dissect those plant parts. Simple microscope is as simple as that. But compound microscope helps us to visualize the different parts. Each and every part of a cell can be observed under a compound microscope, and a compound microscope also has different ranges, like how much it magnifies the cell. Okay, so these are the two types of light microscope. And why the light microscope name? Because we can only view what we want to see when light falls on those objects. Okay, so there is a mirror, and from that mirror light is reflected and thus helps us see on whatever we want to see in both of these simple and compound microscopes. Clear? But electron microscope does not need light. Okay, it works with the help of electrons. Okay, that is a completely separate topic, how electron microscope works, but the basic principle is it does not need a light and it works with the help of electrons. Okay, and it is a very costly and very rare thing. It is not present also everywhere. So these are the two types of microscopes, and electron microscope was first manufactured by Knoll and Ruska. Okay, so moving on to the next topic, that is cell theory. Now cell theory was given by two German scientists, Schleiden and Schwann. Okay, these are the two German scientists who gave the cell theory. Now what is cell theory? The theory states that a cell is a mass of membrane bound protoplasm that includes a nucleus, and all cells are produced or are originated from any previous cell. Okay, that means all cells come from other cells. Okay, so this is the basic principle of cell theory given by Schleiden and Schwann, and this theory have been later on modified, which is more or less same. Just different topics that daughter cells, different few additions to this theory have been made, like daughter cells are produced from the mother cell, and specific feature of the cell and its continuance to the next generation are controlled by the genes present inside the cell. So you have studied about genes and chromosomes also in class 10, and you all know that every cell contains its genetic material, DNA. So from those genetic material, new cells are formed and they are known as daughter cells. So these are the additions to the cell theory as modern scientists learned more about the idea of cell. Okay, so moving on to another type of cells, means based on the presence of a true nucleus, cells can also be classified into two types. One is prokaryotic cell and number two is eukaryotic cell. So these category is based on the presence of a true nucleus. Now what is a true nucleus? A nucleus should contain a nucleolus and it should be bound by a nuclear membrane. Then only it becomes a true nucleus. Okay. Now coming back to these categories, prokaryotic, the word pro means primitive and karyotic comes from the word karyon, which means nucleus. Okay, so pro means primitive and nucleus means primitive nucleus are found in this type of cells. Why primitive nucleus? Because the nucleus in these type of cells do not contain a nuclear membrane or a nucleolus, and thus is not a true nucleus. Okay. On the other hand, eukaryotic is the well-developed cell because it contains a proper well-developed nucleus. Why it contains a proper well-developed nucleus? Because the nucleus here is bound by nuclear membrane and also has a nucleolus. And also one more difference is that in case of prokaryotes, not all cell organelles are present, but in case of eukaryote, all cell organelles are present. And these are the basic differences between prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. You will also find the differences between these two in your book, and I will provide the pages of the book along with this video in a PDF form. Okay, so we will move on with the next portion of this chapter in the next video. And till then, if you have any problem or any doubt understanding this video, please comment in the comment section, and I will obviously try to solve your problems or your queries. Okay, thank you.